For us, it's a daily thing.
It's every day, right?
This is Mammoth Daily
We're going to take you inside the locker room
with Mike Fulta.
We want this show to be about the fans, and we want this show to be driven by our Utah Mammoth community.
And Adrian Denny.
Fans can submit what they want to hear us talk about, what they want to hear Utah weigh in on. It's all going to be here.
Here's Mike and AD with you.
Utahns, countrymen, lend me your ears.
Right here on Mammoth Daily.
They say Tuesday is the most productive day of the week, and oh boy, is that true for us. Mike Fulta and Adrian Denny with you here on your Tuesday Mailbag edition of Mammoth Daily. We will also get you ready for tonight's action against the Toronto Maple Leafs as the Utah Mammoths season-long 7-game homestand rolls along. We are your Hockey Night in Utah radio crew. You can find him on Twitter at 801 Adrian Denny. I am on Twitter at Mike_Fulta. He also has the same Instagram handle because he is smart and he arranged his handles in a way where they are all uniform. So congrats to you, AD, for winning the social media game. But let's get right into it with Toronto. We have a great mailbag coming up for us in a little bit here. But the Maple Leafs in action on Monday nights, and we're recording this here on Monday, so we don't know the result of Toronto and Colorado. It'll be a back-to-back for the Maple Leafs. Kind of weird, Adrian, that I guess it's not really weird at all. It's actually to be expected, but it's unique that this is now, 3 straight games or 2 straight games where the Mammoth are getting the team that played Colorado the night before. It'll be 3 games out of a 4-game stretch for Utah where they're involved in some kind of back-to-back with the Avalanche. But this Toronto team, AD, red hot going into the matchup against the Avs tonight.
How about Toronto, Mike? It's the same story every year. They get off to an okay start in October. Things go south in November. There's so much noise up in the GTA about the Leafs. They are the thing. And Mike, they looked like they were dead in the water, last place in the Eastern Conference right before Christmas time. They went into Dallas, and that was kind of the end of the road for assistant coach Mark Savard and their power play as it was. They made an assistant coaching change, and since they brought up Steve Sullivan from the Toronto Marlies, former NHLer, former executive in the NHL. In fact, he was involved in, signing and drafting some of these Utah players in a different location as assistant general manager before Bill Armstrong arrived. But he stepped in, is running the power play, and the Leafs are now 7-0-2 in their last 9 after they got run out of Nashville, run out of Dallas, run out of DC before that. Head coach Craig Berube asked after one of those games in Washington, what's up, Craig? And he's like, ask them, ask the players what's going on. And it seemed like they were dead in the water again, like they do every year around this time. And then they get hot, and 7-0-2 coming off a 5-0 victory over the Vancouver Canucks. And now they're starting a road trip. But Mike, you mentioned the Colorado connection. This is the 4th straight game to start this homestand that Utah's opponent is involved in some sort of a back-to-back. Ottawa started with Utah on Wednesday, and then they went to Colorado Thursday. St. Louis started in Utah, then went to Vegas in the middle of 3 games in 4 nights. You had Columbus, who came from Colorado after playing there Saturday afternoon. And then you got the Leafs, as you said, playing in Denver on Monday night and coming here. So 4 straight teams involved in back-to-backs. And, it's funny. It's everything Utah was experiencing in the first couple months of the year as the road team.
Yeah, and speaking of kind of schedule swinging back in your way, which we know it has for Utah, it's kind of going the opposite a little bit for Toronto, where during the last 9 games in their 9-game point stretch, they were at home a lot. They had a couple one-off road trips, and 6 of those 9 teams that they played in their recent point streak not above the cut line in their respective conference. So they had played some teams in the bottom half of the league. Now you still have to win those games, which Toronto was not necessarily doing in the first couple months of the year. But they had a good stretch here. They took advantage of some scheduling spots, and now they head into a tough 4-game road swing. Colorado, Utah, Vegas. We'll see Mitch Marner against the Maple Leafs at T-Mobile after Utah sees Toronto, and then Winnipeg to wrap up the road trip. But this Toronto team has been a really good home team this year. You look at their home record, 16-5-5, 11 games above 500 at home. That's one of the best home records in the league this year. Pretty bad on the road. They're 6-10-2 when playing away from Toronto. 4 games below 500 in that department. So getting the Leafs on the road is certainly more favorable, but they've been getting contributions from everybody the last several weeks, really, during this point stretch. William Nylander has been injured for a good part of this stretch. He missed 6 games with a lower body injury. He comes back in their last game before the Colorado game and picks up 3 points in a 5-0 win against Vancouver. So it's all smiles right now in Leafland, but it sounds like that they know from reading and listening to the quotes of the players and Craig Berube, the head coach, they know that this 4-game road trip is going to really test them, as they still have some ground to make up in the Atlantic Division.
And for the Mammoth, Mike, we've seen them beat the top teams in the NHL, and we've seen them struggle and be 1 or 2 wins in a 5 or 6 game stretch for teams that are struggling. So for the Mammoth, it's you're at home, come out, dictate the pace, take control, run the show. You know, we saw with the Columbus team what can happen any night in the National Hockey League when a team comes in and wills their way, and is urgent and is desperate. So for Utah, be that urgent, desperate team that's running the show at the Delta Center, because you got some pretty good teams coming in the rest of the week here. You got Toronto, you've got Dallas coming in, and Dallas only has 3 wins in their last 10, Mike, but they have 4 losses past regulation. So they had a 6-game winless skid, and they got a lot of standings points during the course of that. Seattle has been playing really, really well. They're going to be at the end of the road. They've got a long stretch here. They were in Carolina Saturday, New York at Madison Square Garden last night, and then a sneaky Philly team that we told you with Rick Taka. We knew what kind of games they were going to play, and his teams always seem to be in the mix. So 4 really challenging games coming up here, and for the Mammoth, Mike, it's just all the stuff that we talk about: living in the moment, being in the moment, owning the moment, and running the show at the Delta Center.
Utah and Toronto, they met this year already. If you remember back to the 5th of November, Utah lost 5-3 at the hands of the Maple Leafs. Utah scored first in that game. Really good play between Lawson Krause and Michael Carcone. That third line with Jack McBain was kind of the only good line for Utah in that game. Toronto took a 2-1 lead. Sergachev tied it at 2 later in the second period. Then the Maple Leafs took over in the third, and Utah just kind of lost the reins. Nyes got an empty netter. Gunther got a consolation goal in the last minute or so of that game. And that was kind of the start of the struggles, if you remember back, Adrian. Early November, Mammoth had lost their win streak by that point already, but you were still pretty confident. You're coming off a win against the Buffalo Sabres, and then you go to Toronto, and you don't necessarily get run out of the building, but it was a really tough night where the Mammoth did some good things, but boy, they just couldn't execute. And it was one of those games where I talking to some folks after around the team, it sounded like some folks around the team were chalking that game up to one of those games over the course of an 82-game season where you just don't have it. It's like, you know what? Every team has some of these clunkers. Like, this was a clunker for us. But the Mammoth couldn't really figure it out the rest of that road trip. They lost the next couple against Montreal and Ottawa, had to settle for just 1 win out of 4 games on that road trip. And that kicked off in November that never really got better and put Utah behind the 8 ball after a great start.
And for the Leafs being in Colorado on Monday, having Vegas on Thursday, Utah's the middle game of that. And you have to figure that Toronto coming into Salt Lake tonight is going to be in a similar condition that Utah was after overtime in Buffalo, right? 60 minutes against the Avs, you're going to feel like you just got run through the ringer. Against Columbus on Sunday, they had come from Colorado, and Utah, is much as Columbus offensively kind of controlled the action. It finished officially with 36 shots, but they scored on their second shot. They scored on a late power play in the second period. They got a power play in overtime, right? Like, those are pretty opportunistic situations that the Blue Jackets scored on. So if you can get back to the game management conversation and what we talked about earlier in the week when Utah had success against Ottawa, when they took that 2-1 lead and made it 3-1 and killed 3 penalties in the meantime, and when they led tape to tape against St. Louis and the Blues cut it to 1 twice and Utah got the next goal every time. I think game management's really going to be especially big in this game against the Leafs, just coming from Colorado and on their way to Vegas. For them, the highest percentage way to win this game is in those opportunistic situations that Columbus was able to on Sunday.
How about this too? It's an 8 p.m. puck drop Mountain Time in Denver at Ball Arena for Toronto on Monday night. So it's an even later start time. If you're a Mammoth fan, you're rooting for overtime. You are rooting for an overtime shootout. Keep the Maple Leafs on the ice as long and as late as possible. So bit of a scheduling advantage here for Utah in this game. Just a couple more things on the Leafs, AD, before we get to our mailbag. They picked up Troy Stetcher off waivers a couple weeks back. He was with Edmonton, was kind of the odd man out in their decor. He's playing over 20 minutes a night with Toronto right now. He's been really good and has been an emotional jolt for them on the back end. They don't have Chris Tanev on their blue line right now. He's been out due to injury. Can't tell if he needs surgery yet, but that's Brandon Tanev's brother, Chris, who's been out. He's a big piece for them, kind of a heart and soul guy. We've seen Austin Matthews, after a tough start, take over a little bit. 5 goals in 2 games against Winnipeg and the New York Islanders to start the new year. So he's kind of getting it going a little bit. One of their younger guys, Easton Cowan, has had some big goals for him, had an OT winner against Philly. Matthias Michelli has been productive, 4 points in his 5 games heading into the matchup against Colorado tonight. Nick Robertson has been scoring some goals for him. So you have Matthews and you have some of the big guys that are leading the way, Tavares, Nylander, but they've been getting contributions from everybody. They've scored 4 or more goals 6 times over their 9-game point streak heading into the Colorado game. They've had a really good penalty kill as well. 3rd best PK in the league at 85%. So you kind of mix all those ingredients and you stir it up, and you've got a team that's right in the mix in the Eastern Conference and is trending in the right direction. And if they keep trending in this direction, they're going to be maybe out of the wild card, but even in one of those top 3 spots in the Atlantic.
And they came in last year, their only visit, jumped up 3-0. First time in Utah NHL history that they erased a 3-goal deficit, forced it to overtime, and the Leafs won it by a count of 4-3. That was on a Monday night at the Delta Center. So another weekday tilt with the Leafs coming up. Mike, it'll be interesting to see, right? They've got the original 6 fan base, right? But it'll be interesting. I don't really remember the contingent of Leafs fans that we had at the Delta Center, because you see them every time a team comes in because hockey fans travel. But I'll be interested to see the amount of Leafs fans on a Tuesday night in Salt Lake. You have to figure a couple of them made this Denver, Vegas, Salt Lake trip.
I would think, Leafs Leaf fans are everywhere, as we all know. It's a little harder to distinguish the Leaf blue against the mountain blue. I remember when Calgary came, how many Calgary fans were there? And we've got a couple of our big fans who are really big. We're originally Calgary fans, but have made the transition. Jerry, Mammoth Almanac on Twitter, Rod Anderson, I believe was a Calgary fan back in the day. So that red really pops. The Toronto blue, not so much. And speaking of fans, Adrian, I did want to acknowledge some people that came up and said hi to us the other night. This was back on Friday night, or maybe it was Sunday. I can't remember. But Scott and his grandson Crew came by. So Scott and Crew, thanks for coming by. We appreciate your patronage here on our show.
Yeah, and I saw Angie and her daughter Roman on Sunday afternoon at the Delta Center as they were entering the building. So it was fun to meet Angie and Roman and get a quick picture with them. They listen to Mammoth Daily every day.
I also, Jordan Hinckley came by, and I think we're going to hear from Jordan in our mailbag coming up. You know what? I'll save that for the mailbag. I've got some Jordan talk here, but let's get to the mailbag, AD. I think we got some good stuff to get to here today. Want to roll on?
Let's do it.
It's time for the Tuesday Mailbag.
Welcome into your Tuesday mailbag here on Mammoth Daily. And AD, what do we have first as we open up this beautiful bag of mail? The mailbox, the flag is up. We are ready to collect the mail.
Here we come, Mike. Letter number 1. And it comes to us from Jordan. And he says, I know that But can only be up for a given amount of time. He's been playing really well. Do we think that they keep him at the end of that 56 days? Jordan is, Jordan knows the rules. Jordan has all the books. He's getting technical with us here on Mammoth Daily. So, Mike, you know what we do when the listeners go over our heads in terms of technicalities? We go over our heads even higher to Assistant General Manager of the Mammoth, David Ludwig, to tell us what it all means, Mike. You did just that.
Yes, I saw 56 days. Well, first I saw Jordan say But can only be up for a given amount of time. I'm like, wait, what? And then I saw 56 days, and I'm like, I have no idea what number 56 means in terms of hockey rules. Is this like an entry level contract thing? So we reached out to David Ludwig about this, our assistant general manager, and he got back to me within like a minute. And let me say this first, Jordan. Thank you for the question. Let me say this second. We can keep But up as long as we want. Like he's on an entry level contract. He was in the minors. There's no rule that says we can't keep him up. He's played 20 games already or something like that. So he's burned a year off his entry level contract. The 56 days that Jordan is alluding to is in reference to the housing letter. So what that means is, like, when a guy first gets called up, think of Daniil But when he first gets called up. The team will typically put him in a hotel or some kind of housing situation. And the 56 days, once 56 days passes from But getting called up, which we're not there yet, we're at like 42 days or something like that. But once those 56 days pass, the player will typically get something that's called a housing letter. And basically what that means is, like, okay, Daniil, you've been up here a while. You know, you can go and get a house, get a condo, get an apartment. You are no longer tied to this team setup that we have for you because we don't know if you're going to go up or down or what have you. You're free to search for different lodging within your NHL city. That's as far as I understand it. But the 56 days is in reference to what is called a housing letter, which is basically like, okay, you're here to stay. buy a house or a apartment or rent an apartment. It doesn't have to be buy, right? But so like a guy like Kevin Rooney, per se, who just got called up to the Mammoth the other day from Tucson, I don't know this exactly, but a guy like him who goes up and down, he would probably just stay in an apartment or a hotel even that the team is taking care of for him, because he can be sent down in a day, in a week, or what have you. The guys who stay up, eventually, after 56 days or less, you get a housing letter, and that's like, okay, be free from the nest. Go out on your own, little bird.
Yeah, and the reason being with the letter, Mike, is because Daniil But had a place in Tucson. He got sent to Tucson to start the year. So guys getting called up like Kevin Rooney, his family is in Tucson in housing. So getting called up, that the guys are not expected to pay for homes in both markets. So that's where the housing letter comes into play. And you get the housing letter, you're here, you can start to move your stuff up, you can get your car shipped up, etc., just for a general player on a call up. But Mike, how about this age of 2025? Guy gets called up and team probably puts him in an Airbnb if he'd like. That's an option. Like the Verbos, so you don't have to stay with Nick Saban, right? So but back in the old days, even 2, 3, 4 years ago, guy gets called up and he's in a hotel, he's in an extended stay hotel. But now you've got these short-term rentals, these Airbnbs. You can put the guy in a house, really, just like that, and make his stay even more comfortable, which is what a lot of guys during training camp do. As they're trying to make the team, they're in an Airbnb, and it's more of a home setting. You have a kitchen versus being in an extended stay hotel or even getting Marriott points.
And if you were following the drama in the ECHL with the players walking out and things like that, you might have learned that in the ECHL and AA hockey, the team is responsible for paying for players' housing. That's not the case in the American Hockey League. It's not the case in the NHL. The team would put up a player like, Rooney, who went up and down. They would put up a player like what Adrian said. So you're not paying for housing in two markets where your family is somewhere else. So the housing letter has become a little symbolic. It's more of a tip of the cap to say, like, hey, you're here to stay. Which I think that was the root of Jordan's question. Like, is he here to stay? I think so, Adrian, just because he gets so many chances around the net and he does good things away from the puck. He hasn't been perfect by any means, but he's a guy with high hockey IQ that has transitioned to the North American game really well. And I think the transition to the NHL game has been good. I think we would have liked to have seen him score a few more goals just because of the chances he's had. But you look at his shooting percentage at 4 or 5%, and typically guys who get the type of looks that Daniil But has been getting score at a higher rate, and he has a lot of skill. You'd think those numbers are bound to come up.
And I've made my guarantee. I've made my promise. He's going to have a 5-goal and 5-game stretch. Not necessarily 5 straight games with a goal, but 5 goals in a 5-game stretch. And I think, Mike, the difference between Simashev and But is Utah is so deep defensively. Right. They've got the ability to assign Simashev to the AHL, where he's done great. He's used his creativity. He's done great offensively in some areas that we didn't see up here in the NHL or the KHL. So that's something exciting about Simashev. And Daniil But, as I've said, I think he's something that the Mammoth need. And him being in the lineup every night, I think is a positive for him and the team right now.
Well, Jordan, thanks for the question. And I'm sorry I wasn't able to talk more on Sunday. I was a little behind. And so we just had a quick little flyby from Jordan Hinckley, and he dropped off his business card, Jordan R. Hinckley, educational swordsman. And we got to talk for like 20 seconds about this, because Jordan has written in before, and he's the one that teaches sword fighting classes. And I was like, I briefly asked Jordan, I was like, oh, okay, so like, what do you guys use? Like wooden swords or something, like practice swords, pool noodles? And he's like, no, like steel swords. So if anyone has a broadsword or a saber or a dagger that they want to practice with for self-defense, of course, and, in case you run into Adrian or something like that, give Jordan a call because apparently they practice for real. But I'm fascinated in that. I really want to like find a video of this sword training, and maybe like I'm a Star Wars guy, so I was asking Jordan like could it be lightsaber training, right? But anyway, that could be maybe like a summer segment for us.
Yeah, love it, folks. Again, never hesitate to come see us on a game night section 6-7. There'll be times where we're not in the radio booth, but when we are, we don't have our headsets on. When we're not on the air, we'd love to catch up and meet you. So never be a stranger. All right, letter number 2, Mike. We gotta talk about the power play. Here's Sam. He checks in. First time, long time for the mailbag. How would you guys assess Utah's power play? He says, as a fan, feels like sometimes they can't get the puck in the zone, and it's sort of disjointed when they do. Seems like opponents keep it in there, snap it around, etc. So, Sam, weighing in, questioning the power play. It's been a hot topic, Mike. It's been good in spurts. It's had nights where it hasn't been able to get going. The opponent scores too, like on Sunday night. You want to start with the power play?
Yeah, and I'm if you see my eyes darting around the screen, it's because I have the Sport Logic numbers pulled up in front of me here. And you look at Utah's percentage, it's near the bottom of the league, around 16%, a little less than that. That's, I believe right now it's 4th worst in the NHL. So that's in a range where, we have a big enough sample size. You'd like to see it get better. I will say, I do think the zone entries have been pretty good. I feel like Utah's able to get in the zone more often than not. So I disagree. I appreciate the question, but I disagree a little bit there, where I feel like our zone entries have been pretty good. Remember, Adrian, there was a time where we had Kevin Stenlund on PP1 because we were so set on winning that first faceoff so that we could set up from there. I think the number that jumps off the page at me as I look at these analytics that kind of go beyond just goals, assists, and points is the shot attempts per 2 minutes. And basically what that is, like how many shot attempts do you have on the power play and how many shots? And the Mammoth are near the bottom of the league in shot attempts per 2 minutes. And I think when you've seen this team, I think when you've seen the second power play unit have success, which they did a couple weeks ago, that kind of got the power play going a little bit. They were shooting the puck and recovering the puck quickly. And they had a little bit more of a 5-on-5 mentality in the offensive zone on the power play. And I think that shot attempt number, when it's higher, I tend to think that this power play is better. I think there's so much skill on that top unit for Utah with Peterka and Keller and Schmaltz and Sergachev and Gunther. There's so much skill there that I think a lot of times we try to look for the perfect play. I think Keller and Schmaltz especially, but you can throw Gunther in there too. Like those are 3 guys that I think are underrated in their puck retrieval skills and their ability to win battles in the offensive zone and kind of create second chances. I would just like to see the group, this is going to sound a little basic, but just shoot the puck a little bit more, even when there's not a great window, because how many power play goals do we see that are scored off broken plays? It's very rarely tic-tac-toe like you want it to be. I think that second power play group is not afraid to create those broken plays, and then you get a 2-on-1 somewhere, and then you get a better scoring chance. But to me, that's the biggest number, the shot attempts that jumps off the page, where Utah is pretty low. in that category. I think too the way that Utah is set up right now, Sergachev a left-handed shot, right? So for Sergachev to one-time the puck at the top, he has to get the pass back from Gunther, right? And so that doesn't happen a lot. Usually when the puck goes to Gunther, he's shooting it, or he rarely goes back to the top. But that one-timer from Sergachev isn't as much of a threat because of Sergachev's handedness as a left-handed shot. If Sergachev was a right-handed shot, Keller could hit him up with the one-timer, and that would be a little bit more, that'd be, more of a threat from up high. But if Sergachev's a right-handed shot, it's harder for him to maybe pass over, receive a pass, then throw it across to Gunther, right? So there's just a lot of stuff that's going into it. I think teams they're cheating towards Gunther, which is Utah's best option on the power play. They're cheating to take that away, and I think that the rest of the group maybe needs to be a little bit more of a threat to score shooting wise. I mean, Gunther and Schmaltz lead the team with 4 power play goals each. That's pretty low for team leaders in terms of power play goals.
So the Mammoth on that second power play on Sunday, they had a couple official shots. They were zipping it around. There was a sense of urgency.
The second one.
Second one. Yeah. First one it was 2 minutes in the ozone passing it around, and the second unit never came out because Utah had the puck the whole time. There was no clears because there was no shots. Passes were clean, but basically speaking, Mike, it's a 5-on-4 situation. So you move the puck around fast. That's how you get your advantage on the 5-on-4. When you're being patient, the opposition is able to adjust and rotate and kind of kill down the 2 minutes. For the Mammoth this year, Mike, on the power play, the percentages have gone in spurts. 1 for 16 to start the year, 7 for 20 on the 7-game winning streak, 2 for November, 2 for 6 in 3 games, 5 for 25 in 6 games, 0 for 6 in 2 games, 3 for 9 in 2 games, 0 for 7 in 3 games, 1 for 3 against St. Louis, 0 for 2 on Sunday. But I think, we talked about a power play coach getting dismissed in the NHL and Mark Savard here. So, we're experts on all of this, right? But shots, retrievals, quick movement, quick passes, the key there. But it's me and you, Mike, on a podcast, and we're judging Mark Savard and all this stuff. But there's power play meetings, there's special teams meetings. Like this is a big part of the workday on a practice day, on a game day, on a game night before the game. Special teams meetings, power play meetings. It's something the Mammoth are really working on, and we've talked about Blaine Forsythe running the power play and the respect that he has around the NHL for his track record of success over 2 decades. And last year it was 10th best power play in the NHL.
Well, and Blaine Forsythe was in Washington, right? That's where he started in the NHL as a coach, as a video coach at first. And on that power play, you have Ovechkin in the same spot as Gunther, right? A right-handed shot on the left circle. Who's the guy up top on the Washington power play? John Carlson. He's a right-handed shot. Now, a big reason that Ovechkin has a lot of those goals is because and people always ask, like, why, how is it that Alex Ovechkin scored so many goals from the same spot? And it's coming, right? Like teams know Dylan Gunther one-timer, they know it's coming. How does Ovechkin keep getting away with this? Because John Carlson is a threat to score up top, and Nicklas Backstrom is pulling the strings from the opposite flank. And so now Carlson's a right-handed shot, right? Sergachev a left-handed shot. So that's different, where the Mammoth don't use Sergachev and his one-timer like Washington would use Carlson and his one-timer, because they're different hands, right? One's a lefty, one's a righty. So that's a difference. That's a difference that I think the Mammoth have to find a way to be more creative and create some of those dirtier power play goals like we saw from the second unit, which was the number one unit for a game there. And I felt bad for that second group because they kind of missed their opportunity against New Jersey when head coach Andre Tourné threw them out there. It was like, okay, guys, like get us going here. But yeah, and experts in air quotes, right? But it's easy to yell shoot from the crowd.
Don't yell shoot. Like we went through the whistling thing last week. Don't yell shoot. That's not helpful. That just doesn't help the mojo, doesn't help the energy. Don't yell shoot if you want to be helpful.
But the Mammoth you look at the numbers, they are one of the teams that shoots the puck or attempts to shoot the puck the fewest in the NHL in the power play.
All right, Mike, fun mailbag. We've got a fun third period coming up. We saw something on Instagram over the weekend that had a proposal for division realignment that we thought was fun based on team names. Mike, we'll get to that in the third period coming up next right here on Mammoth Daily.
This is Mammoth Daily.
Wrapping up your Tuesday show here on Mammoth Daily. And Adrian, we both saw this independently, I think, but it was a fun exercise that someone put together on social media. I don't remember the account, but it was basically reorganizing the NHL teams based on their mascots, based on their nicknames is probably a better way of saying it. So who does this come from again?
This is Talking Hockey.
Yeah, and so instead of Pacific, Central, Metro, Atlantic, instead of, the old Patrick division or something like that, we have 6 divisions, it appears, on how the NHL should be divided. And there is no geography involved in this at all. We start out with the status and power division, which is a pretty awesome name for a division. And the teams we have represented here in the status and power division, the Golden Knights, the Kings, the Capitals, the Senators, the Stars, and the Blues. I'm not sure how the Blues got in there, but apparently the Blues are included in status and power. Maybe you have your Kings, you have your Knights, you have your Senators. Maybe the Blues are like the court jester or something like that. So they're in the neighborhood, but everything else lines up pretty well. The Blues were kind of just a throw-in, I think.
How about the Weather Channel division, Mike? Or Fox Weather, if you prefer to watch Fox Weather these days over the Weather Channel. 2 great options to get your weather. The Hurricanes, the Lightning, the Avalanche, the Wild, the Flames, and the Leafs.
The Flames. That's terrifying. It's the California Weather Channel.
Jeez.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that's a pretty good one too. The Leafs got in there. You have a little taste of fall right there. Avalanche, Lightning, Hurricane. This is all like crisis weather channel, like natural disaster type weather channel.
First alert weather right here.
Yeah, exactly. A little tip of the cap to our friends over at Fox 13. The People division. There are some people in this, some mythical creatures perhaps, but the Blackhawks, a tribe, the Canadiens, the Blue Jackets, which is kind of a nod to the Union soldiers from the Civil War, if you didn't know. That's why they fire off a cannon. The Rangers and the Devils. So there you go. The People division.
How about the Flight division? The Flyers, the Jets, the Red Wings, the Ducks, and the Penguins. Couldn't find a better spot for the Penguins?
Yeah, this list is under protest. The Penguins, I mean, they can't even get off the ground with a running start. They have flippers, not wings. So Flight division, just call it Bird division. Well, I guess you have the Jets in there, but pretty good. Penguins, odd inclusion. I'm glad you saved this one for me because this is easily the best. The Murder Zoo division. You have the Panthers, the Mammoth, the Predators, the Sabres, and the Bruins. Now, the Buffalo Sabres have like a buffalo bison, or I guess a buffalo, in their logo, which I didn't know Western New York had buffalo back in the day, but I guess they did. So even though their nickname is like a sword, they have the shape of a buffalo in their logo. So that's what they're alluding to. And then the Bruins, those are bears. But the Murder Zoo division, I think the Mammoth would need the biggest enclosure there.
Yeah, I think so. You told us, Mike, in the opening video, 10,000 years ago, the Mammoth, what, 20,000 pounds?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Colombian Mammoth.
Yeah. Ocean division, Kraken, Sharks, Canucks, Islanders, Oilers.
I guess we're doing offshore drilling here for the ocean division.
I was thinking the big barge taking the oil in the ocean. I guess that's where the Oilers come in.
Yeah, so none of these are perfect. As you can tell, there's one, maybe two teams in each one that doesn't fit perfectly, but a fun exercise to go through, reorganizing the divisions of the NHL into their appropriate columns based on nickname. How would the Mammoth do in the Murder Zoo division? You got the defending champs, the Preds, the Sabres, and the Bruins. Like it's not exactly a group of death, but that's a tough division, and the travel would be pretty brutal.
You'd be in the hunt right now, Mike, if you looked at the schedule. But yeah, you get your trip to South Florida, you get a trip to Nashville, you get Boston and Buffalo 4 times a year. So
great. Great. That's fun. That's like, you know what that is? That's like September second week of training camp, nothing to talk about. Fodder right there, but we're bringing it to you here in the dog days in January. So thank you to Talkin' Hockey for putting that together, because it's a fun little exercise. But AD, we got the Maple Leafs tonight. We got everybody headed over to the Delta Center. Everybody drive safe. Game 4 of the homestand here?
it is, yeah.
Game 4 of the homestand. Mammoth with points in 4 straight. I said it the other night on Mike's Morning After. I thought Utah played a D game and got a B-, C+ result against in their last game. I can't even remember who we played. Who did we play last game?
We played the Columbus Blue Jackets.
The Columbus Blue Jackets
of the People division.
The People division. Thank you. But I think you didn't play great, and you still got a point out of it. Now it's time to put an A effort together. And as Andre Turney's been saying for the last couple months, just because we play our A game doesn't mean we're going to win the game. We play our A game, we're going to have a chance to win the game in the third period. So that's what everybody needs to brace for against a team in Toronto that's been hot. And hopefully, as we record this on Monday, hopefully Toronto has played in overtime as you're listening to this in Colorado, and they had a late night getting over to the Wasatch Front. So a couple games in the mountains for the Leafs. We'll see if Utah can take advantage of the scheduling spot.
Yeah, 8 o'clock tonight, folks, on ESPN Plus and Hulu. So Hockey Night in Utah on the radio, your only local broadcast. We'll be there for you, 7 o'clock on 97.5, the EKSL Sports Zone. Mike and Nick will drop the puck at 8:22. So plenty of time to come by Section 6-7. See us at the Delta Center. We'll see you tonight, everybody.